Okay, in the interest of time and making sure that we keep you busy every minute that you're here, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, I'm Mike Warlick. I'm the Vice President for Defense at FC International, and it's a real honor for us to work with the Naval Institute and host this conference this week, and we really appreciate your attendance here this week. And I want to thank you for that. Also, I want to thank everyone for being safe as we go through the week with COVID hopefully beginning to be in our rearview mirror. We've expanded this year some of the sessions that we've had. We had a Coast Guard session yesterday. We've got more Marine sessions today, but the Marine Corps Tactical Support Agency Systems programs also this week. So, and some things that are outside of the scope of just the Marines and the Navy and the Coast Guard. So this morning's session is set for an hour. If time allows, you'll get plenty of time for a Q&A, and our speaker will be able to participate with you after you finish. I want to introduce him right now. His name is Captain Stephen Gore, who's assigned as the Naval Integration Officer at the Marine Corps Tactical Support Systems Agency. He began his career in the Marine Corps as an air traffic control officer and served at Procedural Air Controller Detachment 18, 31st MU. He also served at the Marine Corps Communication Electronics School as an instructor. He learned and then he came back to teach. He also was selected for Naval Postgraduate School, and he got a degree not too long ago in computer science. And after graduation, like all graduates from Naval Postgraduate School, they're sent somewhere to work their occupation, to teach and work what they learned at school, and he wound up at MCTSSA. Our relationship with MCTSSA here at this conference has been extremely high because it's an extension of the Quantico program office, and a lot of tactical work is done here, a lot of futures work is done here, a lot of deployed work is done here with the MCTSSA team. So his topic this morning is MCTSSA, Naval Integration and Technical Activity Designation. He's going to highlight how MCTSSA has made great strides in naval integration by improving C3, or Command and Control and Communications Readiness. Please welcome Steve to the stage.
Thank you, Mike, for the introduction. As he said, I'm Captain Gore. I work with the Marine Corps Tactical Systems Support Activity. I'm part of the Naval Integration team. I work alongside Major Ackland and Captain Jack Chang. Some of you might be a little bit worried about that 1 hour mark. I promise you it'll be shorter than that. I really want to stop early and engage in a Q&A. This brief will be broken up into two parts. The first part being talking about what the Naval Integration team does. And then the second part is the technical activity designation, and I think that's where most of the juice will be as far as the target audience for here at FCA and industry. And after that, I really want to talk about how industry can help support MCTSSA and how MCTSSA can help support industry. So the Naval Integration Team was stood up back in 2014. It was originally designed to align with the DoD's pivot back to the Pacific. Going back to our amphibious roots, we decided we need to have an ability to support naval amphibious operations, as well as the units that support those amphibious operations. So it started with helping out the MUs, and we slowly have progressed our capabilities and our support over the years. Fast forward to today, we see now an even greater shift towards moving towards naval operations, supporting naval operations, sea denial capabilities, and so we are aligning all of our efforts here at MCTSSA and the Naval Integration Team in line with the Commandant's Planning Guidance, Force Design 2030, as well as other supporting documents that have been pushed out by Headquarters Marine Corps, such as the Tentative Manual for Expeditionary Advanced Base Operations, the TM-EABO. So we are really trying to get after the Commandant's intent to get behind supporting the Navy and their sea denial capabilities and what future amphibious operations is going to look like. So an overview of what the Naval Integration Team does. Up there is our purpose statement that's been signed in our charter. Our baseline is that we're supposed to support systems testing, systems integration testing, as well as engineering expertise for C4I systems associated with Marine Corps programs of record as they go into the naval fight. Now, That definition up there may sound fairly technically narrow, but it is surprisingly broad in its scope on what we're supposed to be helping the Fleet Marine Forces with. And when the team was first stood up, they found themselves scrambling all over the place to figure out how are we going to do naval integration, how are we going to support. So we've aligned our focus of efforts into 5 key focus areas. The first one being operational readiness for the MEUs and the amphibs. The MEUs are our primary customers. As they start gearing up and training and do their PTP cycle for their MEU deployments, we're there helping support them for everything that they need C4I systems-wise, as well as tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs. This is done primarily through what we utilize called our Systems of Systems Operability Test, or SOTS for short. It's a 2-phased approach again. The first phase is that we look at all of the Navy Tier 1 BISOG systems, BISOG being blue in support of green systems. We're checking the hardware and software before the MEU comes aboard and making sure that it's ready to integrate with all of the C4 systems and that the systems are ready for the MEU elements and MEU personnel to utilize them. The second phase associated with it is the C4 systems that the Marines bring aboard and that it correctly interoperates amongst itself so that they can execute digital fire threads, anything that they need to do C4-wise, as well as that it integrates with the Navy systems and Navy system program of records as well. With those program of records, we do engineering assessments and test assessments on those programs as well. So whenever they have an issue with any of those programs of record, we assess those we assess those systems and make sure we can address any issues that pop up, as well as we're looking to expand those capabilities as well. I can't go into too much of the details, but what our engineers like to do is look at a lot of the antenna systems. The antenna systems are fairly dated, and they look at the technical specifications to see if they can utilize these more modern waveforms. A lot of the times they weren't designed to use modern waveforms, but there's nothing technically or engineering-wise that prevents them from operating these new waveforms. So we do the assessments, we do all of the necessary interfaces with the program offices and the program managers to make sure that it's allowed and authorized to be used, and we've developed quite a few capabilities for the Marines to use aboard the L-class ships, which they didn't have a lot of previously. They had a lot of capability gaps that we were able to provide for them through our engineering assessments. Next is our JSF shipboard integration. The F-35 brings a lot to the naval fight. It's across all services. It has quite a lot of capabilities, and how it interfaces with the Navy and how it interfaces with the Marine Corps are 2 very different ways. And so we're making sure that we bring all of the capabilities of the Joint Strike Fighter to the Marine Corps and to those MEU elements. A lot of that deals with digital fires, as I previously said, digital air control, and making sure that we can speed up that kill chain from acquisition of the target all the way through command and control and then strike on the target. Next is CAC-2S afloat ship integration. CAC-2S is the Common Command and Control Aviation System. It's primarily, as the title or as the name suggests, it's an aviation command and control system. It was primarily utilized just on the aviation side, but it's bringing a lot of capabilities to the ground side as well. So now as ground units and MEU units go ashore, they want to utilize the command and control system, CAC-2S, ashore, but they've never previously utilized that. So my team and a great set of engineers are working with the Navy and the Marine Corps to utilize this new system. The CAC-2S afloat is a new technology being brought aboard Navy ships. It's not a program of record yet, but it's working its way into becoming a program of record. The Navy's never utilized it before, so us at the Naval Integration Team have a team of subject matter experts that can help with that integration, as well as the ground guys have never used it before, so we're helping assist them in utilizing CAC-2S as well. And lastly, our MAGTAF afloat integration environment, or what we call the MAE, or what we like to colloquially call the USS MCTSSA, is a lab environment, and you can see a picture there in the bottom right, that is a one-for-one representation of shipboard spaces that Marines will find when they go aboard L-class ships or amphibs. It's not just a one-for-one physical representation, it's also has all of the C2 and C4 systems on board for the Marines to use. And I'll talk more about that on the next slide. So the purpose of the MAE is to provide that workspace for training units to utilize in preparation for going aboard a ship, as well as for us to conduct engineering assessments and test assessments for systems and programs of record that are going to be used in an embarked situation. Some future capabilities that we're looking for. It has a instantiation of canes, or the shipboard network. As many of you probably know, there are multiple hardware and software versions of canes. We only have one instantiation at MCTSSA. It works, it gets the job done, but what we'd really like to do is see if we could virtualize the network and get a way to where the MEUs come aboard, they know, or the MEUs come into our training area, they know what ship they're going to be deploying to. On that ship, we know which hardware, software version of canes they were going to have, and that we can just spin that up into our MAE, and that they would have a one-for-one network representation of the system that they're going to set up on, and that will help them spin up their networks and all of their C2 systems prior to them actually embarking on the ship. As I previously stated, we test our own C4 systems in the area. We're trying to leverage some networking tools to include network simulators, so we can simulate bandwidth, latency, packet drop issues that you would normally see on a ship. We can test our C4 systems all day long in a perfect environment where we've got 1 to 5 megabytes per second. But what happens when you bring it onto a ship and you're getting dropped down to 128 kilobytes per second? How will that affect those C4 systems? We've got some networking tools and simulators that we're working with to see how that type of degraded capability, communication capability, will affect those C2 and C4I systems. That also ties into our DDEL efforts as well. And we're also trying to get more and more spaces. We like to try and build up our MAE to incorporate all of the systems and spaces aboard the ship. We're working on getting TS-SCIF accreditation to try and get a JIC up there so that we can start incorporating some TS Intel systems into our shipboard representation. Again, that'll help just have all of the systems intercommunicate, interoperate a little bit better, and help develop that integrated COP, or common operational picture. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back one slide. Another thing that I know the CEO of MCTSSA will want me to ask for while we're here at industry, the only thing we're missing with the LFOC is hydraulic actuators, so that we can get the MAE to rock, or the LFOC to rock like a ship would. So if anybody's out there, we would love to work with you to see if we can get that, get the Marines seasick. Anything that we can do to make Marines training more miserable, we're all for it. Joking aside, it is a relatively good training environment to see how you could work in a high sea state environment. So partnerships and who we're currently working with. We work with a lot of entities, both on the Marine Corps side and on the Navy side. So for the Marine Corps side, all of the supporting establishments you see up there, all the way from the program offices, CD&I, all of the test squadrons and operational units such as VMX-1 and Makatea, we work closely with them. We've got some good testing events coming up geared around JSF integration as well as CAC2S. Fleet Marine Forces, we're very closely tied to the Fleet Operating Forces. As I said, we're primarily helping support the MEUs, but operational units like to come in, see what we're working with. They'll get in our LFOC to prep for MEUs, not MEUs, but special purpose MAGTAFs, embarking on FDNF deployments as well. So we're very closely tied to the actual Fleet Operating Forces. Additionally, down at the bottom there, you'll see the MARCordettes, or what was previously known as the Marine Communication Detachments. They're now being restructured as amphibious communication detachments. Those are Marines down there at the waterfront, living right next to the ship, sometimes riding the ship, and we're working closely with them to make sure that they can groom all of the networks, groom the spaces, help assist us in grooming the spaces, so that when the ship pulls in and we conduct our testing, that we already have a 80-90% solution, and we're just there to sort of help finalize, get across the finish line with all of our last test events. On the Navy side, we work a lot with the program offices, since a lot of the POI, or Program of Records, that we interface with are Navy Program of Records. So you can see the list of all the PMW offices that we work there. A lot with PMW 150 for C2 systems, 160 with afloat networks and canes, and some of the other ones there we're integrating with more as we do more and more test objectives. For the fleet, as I previously said, work with the MEUs. Alongside with that, on the other side of the MEUs, is the L-class ships. We work very closely with Ships Force as well as the ESGs. The Navy has their own system of systems operability test, a Navy SOT, where they just look at blue gear, where it's not necessarily looking at the green gear. They want to start looking at the green gear or BISOC gear, but they don't know how it works. They don't know where they are. So we've now started supporting Navy SOTs, and we're getting a lot of good feedback from that, because the Navy wants to help support the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps wants to help support the Navy. down at the lowest tactical level, we're seeing a great want of synergy. Navy wants to get more spun up on Marine Corps gear. Marine Corps wants to start sitting more at Navy positions within the LFOC and the Combat Information Center. So we're there hand in hand helping them integrate more and more. So again, continuing on with our fleet engagement, as I kind of previously said, helping support those MUs and the L-class ships. Alongside with that, we're looking to leverage more and more virtualization. That's a big P effort and focus of effort and push that MCTSSA and the Naval Integration Team is doing. More and more programs are going to a virtualized setup, and anything that we can do as far as virtualization goes, whether it's the networks, the C2 systems themselves, we're looking to utilize more and more virtualization for our test procedures, support procedures, anything that we can in lines with those efforts. I've sort of hinted at this before, validating operational mission threads. The world's moving to a very different place when it comes to long-range fires. The days of you, this is me, calling in fire support, target location, my location, everything done radio-wise and voice-wise, those days are going away for the most part, and everything's going towards digital fires. So with all of these C4 systems that we're working with, we're also working with those units that are going to be utilizing those systems for their digital fires. Again, can't go into too much of the details, but we're just making sure that the data from the sensor can get through the C4 systems and the command and control personnel that need to authorize those fires all the way to the shooters, and making sure that that can go as quickly as possible to help shorten that kill chain, the kill web, everything that we can to make our OODA loop faster than the enemy's. C4 capabilities in support of Force Design 2030. We're trying to leverage everything we can to help support the modernization efforts of the Commandant and how the Commandant envisions future amphibious operations. So we're working closely with all of the players with Force Design 2030, as well as the OAs, Operational Assessment Groups, and OAGs, Officer Advisory Groups, to make sure that all of our efforts are in line with the direction that the Commandant and the rest of the Marine Corps want to go in. Integration of JSF C5I systems, already hit on that for the most part. Some challenges that we're looking to address here. Training is a big one. We see a lot of lack of trained personnel, mainly on the Navy side and operating green gear side, but also on the Marine Corps side and operating on Navy blue side gear and equipment and positions. We are not a training command element, so we can't do any official training. We do over-the-shoulder, hands-on, on-the-job training with any sailors and Marines that want sets and reps on the gear and maintenance. But anything that could leverage a training tool or anything like that, that we could work with training command, we would be very interested in utilizing that. Lack of a persistent C4 environment is an interesting challenge. So for those of you that aren't familiar with how the ship rotation works, Marines will, a ship will get ready to have the Marines embark. We start doing our test assessments. Marines will embark, start doing their PTP training cycle. They'll push out for the deployment. Then they come back, they hop off the ship, and then that ship goes into its availability period. It goes into other maintenance cycles. It goes into another thing, and that ship won't be ridden again until 1, maybe 2 years later. By the time that ship gets back, the C4I infrastructure, the networks, everything have been torn down, and it's basically like starting from scratch all over again. So we're sort of hitting our head against the wall every year or so, seeing, hey, we just did this a year ago, 2 years ago, but we have to do it all over again. That's beginning to change a little bit. There's some persistence that's able to come through along those lines. Same with the network rebuilds. The network gets torn down. The newer versions of Canes hardware and software is allowing some persistence there. But any tools that could help expedite the rebuilds of that, automation network builds, those are some technologies that we're looking to leverage. I've sort of hit on the variety and complexity of shipboard networks previously. Along those same lines, again, if there's something that we can do to sort of map out the networks before the MUs get on ship, a tool that sort of scans anything, the complexity of the Canes shipboard network, that would be a great assistance for our team. Some procedural and policy-driven issues that we're running into as well. The Navy and the Marine Corps have utilized the same COP, or Common Operational Picture system, in software and hardware, but they have very different needs. So for example, the Navy COP it filters out land tracks. They don't need to worry about the land most of the time. They're only worried about where the ships are, where the aircraft are. So when the MUs come aboard and trying to fall in on the Navy COP systems, They don't see where their own forces are. So that means that the Marine Corps now has to set up their own COP picture, their own COP feed, and that just eats up bandwidth, system resources. So again, this is mainly a policy-driven thing, but so far we've got no traction as far as changing the policies for Big Navy. And so we're looking to see if there's any tools out there in which we can integrate or possibly pipe around to feed as far as land tracks and the COP feed that the Marine Corps needs. The Navy modernization process is a timely and bureaucratic process. It was implemented in 2004, where there wasn't really a need for rapid acquisitions. But right now, the Navy modernization process takes a very long time to field installs, new programs of records. As soon as a ship comes out of the docks, it's not ready. It doesn't have a lot of the C4 systems installed aboard, and it won't get those completely fielded for another 4 or 5 years out. So we're running into a lot of issues with immediate availability for ships coming out of the yard, as well as systems get upgraded. The rate at which technology is coming out and the way that we want to implement it, it's outpacing the Navy modernization process, and we're looking for ways around it. Most of it's procedural and how the Navy is choosing to do the Navy modernization process, but what we're trying to do is help the MU forces and ship forces with workarounds so they can do non-permanent installations, submit all the ship change drawings so that they can get those systems on before they're actually fielded by the program offices. The Navy certification process is another one. As new systems come on board, they have to get fully accredited. Our team, as well as the other personnel at MCTSSA, help support that accreditation process. Again, time-intensive, labor-intensive, so anything that we can do to automate and speed that up would be greatly beneficial. Interoperability. This is actually, I'm sort of dogging on the Navy quite a bit, but this is one where the Marine Corps is lacking on its interoperability and mostly its afloat interoperability requirements. All of the previous program of records don't have a requirement to test in an afloat environment. So as they've been bringing their stuff on, it's only on MCTSSA to do that afloat integration. There's no actual guidance from SysCom or from the program offices, Marine Corps program offices, to say that we need to do this testing. That's all on our own schedule and our own dime. And again, sort of hit on this one already, assured C2 in the DDEL environment. We've been not worried about our own comm pathways for a long time, but as we're assessing the enemy's capabilities for disruption, detection, now we have to see how our C4 systems will operate in a degraded environment. What kind of EM signature do our systems put out? What happens when it starts getting disrupted? How will that affect our C2 systems? We're doing those assessments, but there's a lot of room for improvement with those procedures. So that summarizes sort of, that was a quick summary of what MCTSSA does as far as naval integration. So what does that mean for you here in industry? Why are we briefing here at AFCEA to industry personnel? June of last year, 2021, MCTSSA was designated as a technical activity. So that means that for the most part, we now have the ability to operate outside of the Federal Acquisitions Regulations, or the FAR, to a certain degree, and start cooperating with industry directly. There are some limitations with that. We can't sign any contracts or anything like that, but there are some cooperative engagements, efforts that we can do. This is an O&R designation, and the idea is that we can start doing a little bit more R&D type work for technologies that are already out there, technologies that are maturing, work with industry and academia to get those types of technologies into the Marine Corps much faster than the actual defense acquisition system can allow it to. We're doing that through our technology partnerships. We've got one with UCSD here, where we're leveraging their AI department to see if there's AI technology that can be immediately leveraged to help with C2 systems, some of the technologies that we use for handhelds, all kinds of things. Our advanced concept cell, which is a different team than the naval integration team, is working closely on the AI side. Additionally with that, we've now joined the Federated Lab Consortium as well, which means that MCTSSA is now partnering with all of DoD laboratories, as well as commercial labs, to see how other labs are now getting technology incorporated into the Marine Corps quicker, and that MCTSSA is now looking to see how other labs are doing it so that we can do it as well. The main tool that we're using for this is the tech transfer and the spin-on and spin-off technologies. And the idea behind that is that we can transfer technology that's already in industry into the DoD as well as help mature and cooperatively work on maturing that technology so that it helps the DoD, as well as hopefully helps that industry partner as well. Doing that primarily through that spin-on dual-use technology. This one being, we don't fully do R&D at MCTSSA. We do a lot of sort of R&D testing, but this helps us do a lot more R&D with industry partners. They can come in, utilize our labs, like I said, help mature those technologies, and then we can cooperatively work on those, on that, and then it should theoretically help both parties involved. The other one is the spin-off procedures. We are leveraging this one slightly less. Anything that comes up that we are currently utilizing within the DoD or the Marine Corps and MCTSSA that we can actually spin off into the industry, we absolutely want to. Again, historically, there's not too much that we have done, but there's a lot of great opportunities out there. Some of the antenna work that we've been doing aboard the ships, as well as our engineers have been doing a lot of assessments. There's a lot of opportunities that we could push out. A lot of work with our 5G capabilities can be pushed out to industry as well. So we think that there's some opportunity there. And again, if more arises, that's something that we would like to continue as a partnership within, within the spin-on and spin-off capabilities. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the microwave popcorn story. For those of you that aren't, when the radars were first being introduced in World War II, there was an engineer, DoD engineer, that had some popcorn kettles in his pocket, and as that microwave radiation was hitting his pocket, it was popping off those popcorn kernels, and then later on that engineer filed a patent for microwave popcorn and made a lot of money. I know my wife loves microwave popcorn. That's her good go-to middle of the night snack after she's been helping feed our 6-month-old. But that's one of the examples and the stories that I like to give as far as military technology leveraging or being leveraged to help support industry. Again, that's a little bit of a dated example, but I believe that there's a lot of other opportunities out there. And that concludes my presentation as far as naval integration and tech transfer and our designation as the technical activity. Like I said, I'd like to open it up, conversation, questions, anything that you have. I'll leave the point of contact slide up there. It's got myself, Major Ackland as the lead for naval integration team, as well as Mike O'Neill. He's our senior principal engineer. He's our ORDA manager as far as tech transfer and our technical activity designation. So you can take down his information. If you're interested in doing a tech partnership with us or spin-on, spin-off industry partnership with us, please reach out to him. He's very open to it. Just yesterday, we had some industry partners come and visit our labs, very interested in some SATCOM capabilities that would help his company and would help out the Marine Corps as well. So pending any questions, I'd like to open it up to the floor for discussion, anything that you might have for myself or my team. I've got a couple of members of my team here in the audience. Sir.
Hey, sir, first, thank you for your service. You said a whole lot there real fast for us, and appreciate it. So down at Special Operations Command, they have SoftWorks. So can you kind of say again there, what's your equivalent for us to bring technology to you for an evaluation that's similar to that process?
So that would also be through Mike O'Neill up there. If you've got a technology that you think could help naval integration or the Marine Corps in general, you would contact him. He will then work with getting you access to MCTSSA, getting a tour of our spaces and our labs. You can see what we're doing, how your technology could slot in, and then you would work with him as far as spinning up a contract to see if we can leverage that tech partnership. Yes, sir. Did that answer your question? Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I want to thank everyone for attending and AFCEA for hosting us. Thank you.
Great job. Keep up the good work. I'm going to put a plug in for you. Okay, again, how about a great hand for the captain? I'll tell you right now, what he said at the end of his session, and the question drove right to it. The MCTSSA has told me through their last 3 commanding officers, we go visit them each year to try to build the Marine Corps floor out here. And MCTSSA has been really the heartbeat of that floor. It's the one place where industry can get into to see them, and the CEOs told me they've made more contacts here for business opportunities than anywhere else during the entire year in this a 3-day session. I'm sure that they'll accommodate you if you have an opportunity you want to share with them to go visit MCTSSA, just like you heard just a few minutes ago. And I would say the same would be for NAVWAR down the street here as well. So if you approach them, there's a good opportunity that you can get some business back from them. So that's the first session that we've got here today. We're going to have a follow-on session in just a few minutes. And once again, I want to thank MCTSSA and the team here for supporting us today. And in particular, Captain Gore, and he's a recent graduate of the Naval Postgraduate School. And I knew that. I kind of tracked his bio before I came in here. Many of those students that go through MPS end up in that technical environment that they got their degree in. And for the Marines, many of them come to MCTSSA, and then they go back out to the fleet in some form, or they shift up to the Marine Corps or the Marine Corps Systems Command at Quantico to take their expertise to another level. Thank you very much.